please help me welcome the star of the film, Rose Byrne.
Wow, this is so magical. This is so big. It's so great. Oh, you guys are so friendly, Canadians. I just want to thank everyone for coming to see this extraordinary film you're about to watch, written and directed by Mary Bronstein. Unfortunately, she's ill and she couldn't make it here, so I'm standing in for this. She would usually make a very erudite, extraordinary speech about the movie, so I'm just going to be brief. But the film is extremely near and dear to me, inspired by Mary Bronstein's own journey in her life. I'm honoured to be part of this project. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mary for allowing me to bring the character of Linda to life. Mary really lit the page on fire when she wrote this script and brought it to life in a way that was beyond my wildest dreams. I want to thank my remarkable co-stars who are not here tonight, the formidable Conan O'Brien. I know, he's such a national treasure, isn't he? ASAP Rocky, I know. Danielle McDonald, Christian Slater, Ella Beatty, and lastly, Ivy Woke, who is here tonight. Mary has been doing this really cool thing where she asks the audience to take a breath and just for a minute think about the most traumatic event of your life. Everyone's had one. Just remember that feeling. And then to take a moment and think about the most traumatic event that happened to you today. And it could be something really silly, like you were peeling the foil off your yogurt and it didn't quite got stuck and you were... this story of Linda is a little bit of both of those. And it's a very specific thing she's going through, but the feelings are universal. It's really punk rock, and I really trust you guys with the experience you're about to have. So thank you so much. Enjoy. Thank you.
Please help me welcome back to the stage the star of If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Rose Byrne.
Guys, I changed my outfit. I took off my dress.
Serious. You spoke in the intro about how, although this is not explicitly autobiographical, it's based on something, an experience that Mary went through herself. Was there any pressure stepping into this role knowing that you're kind of in the same space that she was and you're interpreting it?
I'm sure subconsciously there is. She was so protective of the performance, Mary, and protective of me when we were filming. You know, it was shot in 26 days or something. It wasn't a big budget. It was ambitious with its sequences, and she was my touchstone, really, and we had such a shorthand by the time we got to set. Beforehand, we had a great rehearsal period of over a month, just sitting at a table, her and I, combing through the script and telling stories and asking questions. We did a bunch of research. We spoke to a lot of mothers who have children with special needs. I spent time with a therapist, all these kind of wonderful opportunities for research that we did together. But of course there is that subconscious pressure in the back of your head, but I was also just so nervous I didn't want to fuck it up,
You didn't. But watching Linda go through what she's going through is very stressful. And it's understatement, thank you. But she feels very alone, and her therapist is short-tempered. Every time you take a call with your husband, I was so upset on her behalf. He was very unhelpful. Was it a grueling shoot to kind of put yourself in that space constantly?
Honestly, my adrenaline was so high doing the shoot. I was just operating at 1,000%. That I think afterward I felt the crash and felt a sense of loss or grief in a way for the experience and for the gift of this character and working with Mary. But at the time, my adrenaline it was almost like doing a play. I was just going so fast, and there was so much to do every day, and such rich scenes. There's a lot of comedy in the movie as well. There is humor in there, and of course some days were harder than others. But I got to yell at Conan O'Brien a lot of days.
This film is very intimate and closely observed in the sense that the camera is right in Linda's face and almost aligning with her completely. How was that experience to act with the camera that close, and how did Mary explain that vision to you?
On the first day, the first scene I shot is actually the first scene in the film where they're talking to Dr. Spring in therapy, and they're having a disagreement about what they think should be the next steps, and the camera got closer and closer and closer, and I looked at Mary and I said, "Is it going to be this close all the time?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay." And then I never asked again, and I guess it's that power of sort of disassociating and also being hyper aware of the technical aspect of your performance. But I too, as a viewer, when I saw the film, really had the full realization and beautiful sort of experience of the cinematic language of what Mary was doing and the story she's telling. And this film is purely from Linda's perspective, and a lot of it you're not sure if it's real or not, and what is actually happening and what's not happening. And I didn't appreciate that fully until I saw it. Yeah.
It makes it much more immersive because even the sound aspect of it, backstage, it was rattling everything.
Yes. And the flowers were shaking.
The flowers were shaking. So you can't escape. So I'm going to turn it over to the audience. I'm sure you have questions. Sorry, I can't see you guys up there. Yes, right here.
I'm curious if you actually had to eat the food at the beginning of the movie, like the chocolate and the pizza cheese.
Did you actually have to eat the food at the beginning of the film? The chocolate, the pizza, and the cheese?
Yes, I did. The pizza was very complicated when we had to flip it over. There was a lot of strings. It was sewn into the box. The cheese had to detach and attach. So all of those things are really practical. Mary didn't use any special effects. But yeah, I had to eat a lot of pizza. I did.
Yes. So Mary's not here to talk about it, but can you talk a little bit about what the impact was of not showing the child's face the entire film?
It was I remember when we started, Mary was like, "This is my concept, this is my idea." And for me, she was always there. We auditioned a lot of actresses for the role of the daughter, and Delaney Quinn, who's this wonderful actress, plays her. So she was my scene partner for me, but obviously visually you don't see her in the storytelling. And I think it's because Linda doesn't see her until the end. I think she can't see her. It's really sad. And then at the end you see her, and it's this heartbreaking moment because she can finally look at and see she's just a little girl, So for me, that's how I interpret it, but I think for everybody it could be different.
Yes, right there. What were your first thoughts when you first read the script, and how did it evolve when you were shooting? Because it's very beautifully written.
I thought it was like fire, the script. She just lit the page writing it. It's just so radical and dangerous and funny, and there was a beautiful symmetry to the script that I think it remains in the film. And I love the way it goes in and out of existential moments, and it offers more questions than answers. And I think the film, but I've done a lot of jobs where you're improvising and you are changing things up, and and this was not the case. We were very much sticking to every in the best possible way. Like, I didn't want to change a thing. I was like, this is, I don't want to change anything about it, not a single syllable. So, and like I say, we had this wonderful rehearsal process, which was such a gift. You don't get that usually in TV and film, especially something independent like this. And I think without that, I would have felt pretty untethered. So I was very lucky.
Apart from yelling at Conan O'Brien, you also had a very good rapport with him, and he and A$AP Rocky are not known for their film acting, although now I think A$AP Rocky is. This was his first of 2 great performances. Yeah. But how did you work with them, and did they come to you for kind of advice on how to navigate these roles?
They were so sweet. I mean, they were both so respectful. Rocky's such a Renaissance man. You know, he does so many things, and he's so innately creative and inspiring, and he was just so respectful, like, to me, to the point where I was like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to keep saying. He was so sweet and had ideas and wanted to try things. And that character of James is really hard because you're not sure what his motivation is, and he's the most genuine person in the film. He's like the only person who actually listens to people and is curious and is empathic. And Conan, you know, like, he's not a great therapist. It's not good therapy. Guys, anyone who's in a relationship like that with your therapist, it's not good. So we had a lot of discussions about their relationship, because it's toward the end of the patient-client doctor relationship in that between Conan and Linda, Conan's character and Linda. And that was trying to figure out what had happened before then to reach this horrible kind of bitter, terrible, where they're both behaving so badly, and also the humour in that as well. And Conan was so game, you know, and you realise, you know, his show and how extraordinary he was on his show, but that's also a performance, you know, and this is another side of him, and he brings such goodwill to him already, Conan, and I think it's great because it asks the audience that it sort of is a bit of a bait and switch, which I kind of, you know, Mary was so creative with her casting.
Was Linda a good therapist?
What do you think?
There was another question. Yes.
So at the beginning of the film, first of all, that was a fantastic performance.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're very sweet.
I can't remember your words. We talked about having a bad day. I mean, this lady had a bad day.
She's having a really bad day. Yeah.
Experience with the whole
She's having a really bad day.
time that you thought for a minute she might have some fun or something. Was there any discussion where during the film, or the creation of the film, that maybe at some point there might be a happy portion?
Was there a discussion at any point that there might be a happy portion?
You know, I would argue that the ending ends on a positive note. I think the final line is actually, I mean, it's heartbreaking, but she's going to try. She's going to try. And that she hasn't said that throughout the whole film. She hasn't even been able to see her daughter in front of her. So for her to, at that final beat, be able to say that, I do feel it ends with hope, maybe. Maybe not like a party, but...
Yes.
I would like to know how do you make it to balance the elements of comedy with the anxious dramatic tone? Really great in that sense.
How do you balance the comedy with the very dramatic aspects?
Mary was so great because the film has this tension, right? This extraordinary tension that builds and builds and builds, and this claustrophobia, and she knows just when to push it far enough and then let out the gas, and you can laugh, whether it's in the moments in the scenes with the therapist, or even on the phone with her husband, or the hamster sequence, which is so funny. You know, these moments where you get to have a release, and the audience hopefully stays with us and stays with her, and that's really a testament to Mary, just tonally getting that really perfect. Because you have to stay on the journey, right? And obviously through humor is such the best tool to do that. Yeah.
Were there any instances where you had to kind of redo a scene because you had kind of gone too far in one direction or the other, where that's actually too funny, and now we're a little bit...
That's a good question. No one's asked that. You know, Mary just knew this movie so well. She had it in her head, this vision, so specific. I think I get, we definitely gave choices, like different variations of scenes, but she always knew when to like pull back or try more or try less. The hamster was a pretty complicated sequence. That was like, because there was a real hamster and then the fake hamster, and like, it was a whole thing. So.
For the sequence where the hole in the roof becomes increasingly surreal, what were the logistics of shooting that? Was there VFX involved or real effects? What were you reacting to?
Mary was obsessed, with practical. She just wants to feel and have that practical feel of these big set pieces like that, and that was a huge one. So that was a lot of days. I think a lot of the budget even probably was spent on that whole sequence, it was a very trial and error. I think we shot something and it didn't work and we had to reshoot. So there was a bit of that going on, but I feel like you really feel it when you watch it, when you actually see it happening. That was what my reaction was in real time, and that was really fun for me as a performer.
I think we have time for one more question. So, yes, I want to get somebody up top. In the back?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm curious about the title of the film and how it relates.
Oh God, I don't
The
know.
title of the
I
film.
can't answer. I can't answer. That's for Mary. She's so erudite, and I feel like I'm going to just massacre that answer. So I'll pass.
We have time for another question. Yes. Oh, okay. I'll come back to you, and then whoever yelled out yes. Yeah.
I'm wondering about the last scene, and if you dove into the waves, or if you had a stunt performer, and if so, if that was you doing it, when did you film that? Was it at the beginning of the end or the end of the shoot, and how did that influence the way that you felt during that scene?
I think everybody heard that.
That was shot toward the end, and a lot of the we had to shoot the whole film before the winter set in, basically because of that sequence. And that was in Montauk, and the waves had been very calm for the whole few weeks we'd been shooting, and then that night the sea became quite angry. I'm Australian, so I have a lot of respect for the ocean. We learn to swim as soon as we're born, and I'm very I simultaneously love the ocean and swim a lot, but I'm also very wary of any, just having grown up, on this island in the, so far away on the coast. So I was looking forward to the sequence, but I knew it was going to depend so much on the waves that night. We nearly lost the cameraman. He nearly went down. He got caught up, and we weren't even that far out, but the tide was so strong. So it's a combination of me and a brilliant, brilliant stunt woman called DJ who was just extraordinary. But I did a lot of it, yeah. And I honestly do think culturally I have a relationship with the ocean because of that I was already preparing for it in many ways, subconsciously, that I think that sequence is really quite stunning, and was definitely a huge set piece that we were all preparing for. The anticipation for those nights was very, present on the shoot.
Okay, last question.
But does he?
So
Was
the
it ever
question
there?
was, what's the symbolism of the hole getting bigger and bigger?
There's so many holes in the movie, because there's the hole in her stomach, there's the hole in the ceiling, there's that beautiful symmetry again within the story, and I think it's what I think I feel like it's the answers within you. Not to be so corny, but I feel like it's part of the questions, not the answers, and I feel like there's something endless about that.
Well, Rose, it's a stunning performance, and it's generating a lot of awards buzz, deservedly. So thank you for bringing it to Toronto.
Thank you. Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you. Thanks so much. You're so great. You're so sweet. Thank you.